Very good morning. I bid to Inche Zul, which is the project manager, and greetings to Miss Niraku, who will evaluate this recording. Uh, okay, so I'm here to present about my internship training experience. So let me bring up the slides. Okay. So I'm Aaron Guest, ID 24847, and I previously had another supervisor, which is Inched Saiful. He is the previous project manager of a different site. I had two sites which I was interning at. First one was Lama Typing, and the second, which is the current one, is Polytechnic campus in Bacham. So starting off with the background of Nurumi, which is the company I'm interning in, uh, it was created on 29 January 2001, and its CEO is Mr. Hamito Khan. This company is a G7 contractor company, which means that it doesn't have a limit in the budget of the project. Let's say the project is maybe 2 million, 3 million, the company can take that project. Unlike the other like for example, G5 contractor company, which the limit may be 5 million or something like that, the company can't take projects that are above the limit. So obviously, this company Nurumi is approved by CIDB. Without the approval from CIDB, this company would not be able to operate. And this company also have 6 core values, which is the first one is the company is committed into quality and efficient supervision, excellent discipline in teamwork, effective scheduling and planning, which contribute to the company's growth and success over the years. And the last one is clients are assured of the company's commitment to excellence and customer satisfaction in all works undertaken. So those are the 6 core values which Nurumi abides by. So moving on to the objectives of Nurumi, the first one is produce new contact and tenders. Second, provide quality and reliable and professional services in all projects undertaken. This can, increase the trust factor of the clients. And third, develop further our scope of work in order to attain a significant market share in the industry. Fourth, develop further and have a good everlasting business relationship for mutual gain and benefits. And lastly, adhere and practice code of conduct and ethics prevailing in the industry at all times. So those are the objectives. And now I'm about to share about the work culture within the company. So the first thing you see here is these are the two sites, which is the first picture is Lama Typing, and the second one is Polytechnic Campus Bacham. And every morning, the safety officer in both sites will, evaluate the workers in terms of safety, which they must have safety helmet, harnesses, and of course safety boots. If they do not abide by that law, um, the safety officer is allowed to stop the workers from working. And the Nurumi also have their own environmental safety policy. The unused materials are, reused or transferred to a different site. That ensures that no accumulation of garbage or trash or waste from causing a pollution within the surroundings. Now we have the work experience. So before I start my work, or you can say intern in either of these sites, I was instructed to look at the construction drawing first. So I mean, helps me to understand better the projects and uh, the places which they are constructing and whatnot. And then this bridge construction is the type in the typing project, which the first picture they are removing the guardrails from the bridge, which they are about to demolish. And then the third picture, which also they about to remove the guardrail, they can't loosen the bolt, so they are using a torch. And the second picture in the middle, they're using a crane to how to say hack the bridge so that it will be easier to excavate it. They hack it to release it from the supports and foundations, and then later on they will construct a new bridge. So this picture is the first picture is after they remove the guardrails from the bridge, and the second picture is they're doing a rubble pitching wall, which acts as a retaining wall to prevent the soil from caving in. So now we have the drain construction. So drain construction, the first picture they use soil to have an equal level. The leveling will be done by the surveyor, and then the surveyor will provide a suitable level they need to place the drain at. So the soil acts as a bed to make sure that all the drains are level. Then this picture is also the same. This they just using the salt and covering the ground with sand. And then you notice the side, the slopes are in a, how to say, the ground, the walls are in a slope. They are sloping to prevent the walls from caving in or something. I mean, it prevents how to say, tanah runtuh or erosion. Then the third picture, they're using the backhoe to lower down the precast U drain into the hole for the easier for the workers to place it. The last picture, the workers is trying to straighten straighten the drains in the correct position. Beforehand, they use a long thread and they tie it from one end to another to make sure that helps guide them to place the drain in a straight position. Moving on. So this is an example. The first picture is an example of how they use the backhoe to lower down the precast U drain. And the second picture is using the mixture of cement, aggregate, and sand to plaster the sides of the drain so that it can provide support and make sure that drains are firmly placed, and the gaps will also be covered by the mixture so that each drain is connected, and each drain is also slanted at one side to make sure the water flows in one direction and prevent backflow. So this is the picture of his casting by hand the V drain. So this personally I have entered entered and involved myself in the creation of this V drain with the supervision of the site supervisor, of course. Here we have the creation, they making a diversion because at one area there is an accumulation of water, and so this diversion acts basically to divert water away and prevent accumulation, which can result in a flood. So the first picture, they already place very durable cloth. So the cloth acts as like how to say, it prevents the drain from sinking into the ground, and it also prevents erosion. And then the cloth, they will put sand on top the cloth and then cover it with aggregate. And after they place the aggregate, they will level it with a compactor. So after leveling, they will place another level of sand above it. And then this second picture to the right, they are placing, after the level of sand has been placed and leveled, they are placing the casted drain into, they're connecting the casted drains using the backhoe. And later they will use like the mixture of cement, aggregate and sand as before during the drain construction to fill in the gaps. So this third picture, they use the backhoe again to cover the drain with aggregates and sand to firmly place it into the ground. Okay, moving on. Now we have the slump test. So every time before the usage of concrete, which is the mixture of aggregate, cement and sand, the lorry will come to the site and the concrete will immediately be tested by a technician. So this is called the slump test. So first off, he will put, how to say, the cup. It's like a container. It's like a cone shape, the cone. So you put 3 levels of concrete, fill it to the brim. So each level he will poke it using a metal rod or somewhat to like 25 times to make the mixture evenly distributed, so that the aggregate doesn't accumulate at the bottom and is equally distributed throughout the mixture. And then after that, he slowly lifts up the cone and measures the measurement between the trowel and the slump. So for this side, the Bacham side, the slump height must be 80 mm plus minus 25 mm. So that is the requirement before uh, before using the concrete. That is the basically passing height. If the passing height is below or below plus minus 25 from 80 or higher, the concrete will automatically be rejected and be sent back to the factory. This is an example of the delivery order for the concrete. So the grade which the concrete that's being used on the site is 37, and I will help the site supervisor every time for the delivery order, which I will record the slump height, snap pictures of the slump, and then send it back to him and update the delivery order and send it to the technician. So now after the slump test, there will be a cube test. So the slump is basically taken and they throw it away first. Then the same concrete which they use for slump test, they will put into cubes of six cubes, and after a few days, the truck will come and collect the cubes so that they can test for 7 days, 14 days, and 28 days strength. So since the grade is 37, the concrete strength must be above 37 MPa. Now we have the rendering process. So this is an example of rendering. They basically will take a mixture of cement and sand to cover the floor and provide a smooth finishing to the floor. So this render must be following the height must be according to the floor plan. So the floor plan states in this site must be 50 mm. So they will finish, the finish level must be 50 mm. The renderer will take the level each time and then mark the area. So this is to prevent they render above the 50 mm limit or below. So after rendering, after a few days of rendering, the tilers will come and basically place tiles. So this is the photo. The first picture, the tilers use a combination of cement tile adhesive and sand, which is called mortar. So they use it to firmly place the tiles onto the newly rendered floor. This, and with the help of small spaces, tile spaces, this ensures that little gaps between the tiles uh, are available. So after they place the tiles, they will use a rubber mallet to bang against the tiles to ensure that it's firmly placed onto the newly rendered floors. So now we have formwork. So formwork is basically temporary molds which they pour concrete inside and wait for it to harden basically. So these are the few examples of formwork. The first one is the formwork for beams. The second, to the right, it's formwork for the stairs. So formwork normally they will have a steel cage before they do a formwork. So after the placing of the steels, then only they will use formwork to cover it. Formworks are basically made of timber and plywood. So the third picture on the left is the formwork for lintel. Lintel, later on I will share more about it. The fourth one, last one to the right, it's formwork for columns. Oh, okay. So now we have the concreting process. So concreting process normally involves a crane, which can vary depend on the project. The crane can be 25 ton, 45 ton, depends, as I said, depends on the project. And here they use what they call a bucket. They put cement inside, concrete into the bucket and transfer it to the place that they need concreting basically. So this is example. The second picture is what was the result of concreting a slab. This is the finished product. And when they're concreting, to ensure it's evenly distributed, I mean the aggregates, the sand evenly distributed, they use a poker, or you can say a vibrator, which it vibrates and distributes evenly the concrete throughout the formwork. So this is, I said, the lintel. So the first picture, they pouring concrete into the formwork to make a lintel. Lintel is like the second picture. You can see a horizontal block above the door frame. So this acts like a load distributor. It distributes load from above the lintel around to the surrounding walls or column if it is present. This is to uh, divert load away from the door frames or windows. So every door frame and windows will have a lintel above them. So now, as I said before, we have the steelwork, which comes before the placement of the formwork. So the first picture, we can see the cage basically. So the cage is the cage for the beam and slab at the side. So the steelwork, they basically use bars, can be T25, T20, and then they will use a metal, how to say, steel wires to tie it together to make basically a cage, a steel cage. Then the second picture we have a cage for a shear wall, and then the last one we can see some bars, some metal bars poking out from the steel cage. That is, they call it the starter bar. So starter bars are basically uh, when they want to continue the building, as if it got more floors above it. So they use a starter bar and they do a lapping with another bar to make it even higher. So metal lapping is basically they use the bars and tie it together using the steel wires and keep going higher and higher depending on the drawing plan. So this is example of I was supervising the metal transportation. So this this, as I said, the environmental policy, which the metals are not being used by the company on this site, so they transferring it to a different site. So this is an example of what I've been saying, that they reuse unused materials. So in conclusion, I feel like I have learned a ton from this company, and I believe that first-hand experience is always important. Uh, I can learn more from this project than I can learn when I'm in the office only. So as for recommendations, I believe I can recommend a few solutions in terms of safety. So the first one, I witnessed that when they're using a torch to cut or loosen the bolts from the guardrails of the bridge, they are not wearing goggles. So I recommend that they use goggles because it may cause serious blindness when the steel debris when will go into the eyes. And second one, some of the workers are not wearing harnesses. So I encourage that the safety officer will sternly advise them to wear their harnesses and provide those who do not have. So that is all from me. Thank you.
Dah habis. Okay. Dan buat apa? I like isi borang macam mana? Borang macam mana
Macam macam mana dia?
Save tak tadi? Tak save.
Rasa safe.
Ha?